You know those research papers that feel like a big deal? Like, you just got to grab a friend and unpack every single little thing about it.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Well, buckle up, because that's what today's deep dive is all about. So you found this research paper, and it's got everyone buzzing because it hints at a potential breakthrough, a way to actually, maybe, possibly, improve brain development in people with Down syndrome. We got to dive into this.
It's really interesting, actually. This research zeroes in on neurogenesis and dendritogenesis, two processes that are often, affected in individuals with Down syndrome, and they have a big impact on their cognitive function.
Okay, so back up for a sec. Break those terms down for us. We're talking about brain development, right? But what's actually going on at that level?
Yeah. So picture your brain like a super complex network, like roads connecting cities. So neurogenesis, that's like building new cities, creating those brain cells we need.
All right.
Then you've got dendritogenesis now, that's all about connecting those cities with roads, making sure they can talk to each other and share
Not
information.
like building out the brain's network.
All right.
Right. You need new cities, but they're useless if they can't communicate. And this research is saying these processes, they can get messed up, like disrupted in
Yep.
people with Down syndrome.
Exactly. And when that happens, it can really impact learning, memory, all sorts of cognitive functions, and that impact lasts a lifetime. That's why this research is so captivating. They're looking at how to possibly make those processes stronger.
Got it. So we've got the problem. Disruptions in how the brain actually builds itself. Now let's talk about potential solutions. And get this, the possible hero here, it's a natural compound, something
Yeah.
you might even have in your pantry right now. It's
Ooh.
found in grapes, and it's called polydatin.
This is where it gets really cool for me. Polydatin is a polyphenol.
Oh, what
A
not?
polyphenol. Basically, it's part of this family of compounds. And let me tell you, polyphenols, they've shown some pretty amazing effects on the brain.
Like, what? Spill the tea. What kind of brain-boosting potential are we talking about here?
Well, some studies suggest that these polyphenols, they act like little brain guardians, protecting your brain cells from damage, with their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory powers. But here's the real kicker. They might actually be able to encourage the brain to make more of those new brain cells, to stimulate neurogenesis.
Wow.
And even more interesting, they seem to boost something called synaptic plasticity.
Hold on. Synaptic plasticity. That sounds like a mouthful. What is that?
It's a big deal. Okay, so think of synaptic plasticity like this. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself, right? Like adapting as you learn and experience new things.
Right.
That's synaptic plasticity in action. And the exciting thing is that polyphenols, like polydatin, seem to give this adaptability a boost. They make the brain more flexible, more resilient.
So we could be talking about a treatment that not only protects the brain, but also helps it learn and grow better. That's pretty amazing. But why focus on polydatin? I mean, we always hear about resveratrol. That's like the famous polyphenol, the one found in red wine, right?
You're right, resveratrol, it's like the rock star, always in the spotlight. But polydatin, it has a secret weapon, bioavailability.
Bio what now?
Bioavailability. It means our bodies can absorb it and use it much easier than resveratrol, so it has the potential to be even more effective.
So polydatin is like that reliable friend, the one who gets things done quietly and effectively without all the fanfare. I like it. But how did the researchers actually test this whole polydatin thing out?
That's where our furry little friends come in, lab mice.
Oh, no, not mice.
I know, but before you say ew, these little guys are super important in research.
Really? How so?
Mice are actually really similar to us, especially when it comes to how their brains develop. Plus, we can study them in these very controlled environments,
Right.
which lets us fine-tune the research and really pinpoint exactly what polydatin is doing.
So it's like having this simplified model of a brain to work with, allowing the scientist to isolate the specific effects of polydatin on development. What exactly did they do with the mice?
They focused on newborn mice with Down syndrome, and they gave them daily doses of polydatin starting really early on, basically from birth. Then they watched and waited, patiently observing how those mice developed compared to the ones who didn't get any polydatin. And that's something I really admire about scientific research, that patience, that meticulous observation over time, they really let those mice grow up, tracking their progress the whole way.
So they were playing the long game, really looking at how that early exposure to polydatin changed the brain over time. Did they find anything interesting?
The results were really promising. The mice who got the polydatin, they showed some pretty big improvements in both neurogenesis and dendritogenesis.
You mean those brain-building processes we talked about earlier? Like the brain cells were actually making more connections, building a stronger network.
Exactly. But it gets even more interesting. They put those mice through a bunch of memory tests, and guess what?
What?
The mice who got that Polydatin, they did way better. Consistently.
Wow. So the changes weren't just like happening on a tiny microscopic level. They were actually leading to real measurable improvements in how those mice were thinking and remembering. That's huge.
It is. It could mean that Polydatin has a real shot at changing how individuals with Down syndrome learn and process information.
That's amazing.
It is, but...
But there's always a but, isn't there?
Well, in the name of science and being thorough, we got to be cautious too. Got to keep things in perspective. This is just one study.
Right. One study doesn't exactly rewrite the textbooks. What else?
We got to see if these results hold up in a bigger study, and ideally with people, not just mice. As great as mice are.
They're not exactly human.
Exactly. What works for a mouse might not work the same way for a human. Different dosages, different responses, who knows? We got to be careful. To really figure out what Polydatin can do for us, we got to start doing clinical trials with people.
Which is a whole other can of worms.
Right.
Way more complicated, takes more time, and definitely costs more.
For sure, but it's what we got to do if we're going to explore this Polydatin thing safely and make sure it actually works for humans.
Makes sense. Okay, so more research, bigger studies, trials with humans, all that's got to happen before we get too excited. But even with all those caveats, this research feels kind of huge. What could this mean, big picture, if everything checks out? For people with Down syndrome, for their families?
Yeah.
What are we even talking about here?
Okay, so if this research turns out to be legit, we could be talking about a totally new way of looking at Down syndrome, at least when it comes to the neurological stuff. I mean, right now we're mostly focused on managing symptoms. What if we could actually make things better?
That would be,
Game changer.
Yeah.
Imagine how much of a difference that could make for cognitive function, for memory, for someone's ability to just learn and experience the world around them.
And it's not even just about the individuals, right? Think about the families, the people who care for them. This could be huge for them, too.
It's like this wave of hope, of new possibilities, and it all comes back to this one fascinating study.
Yeah, it really gets you thinking, especially that thing about giving the Polydatin to the mice right after they were born. That seems important.
Oh, definitely. It's a really clever strategy, actually.
Like they're trying to literally change how the brain develops right from the very beginning.
That's the idea. It's not about how the adult brain works. It's about how that brain gets built in the first place, those early stages.
So like if you get in there early on, during that critical period when the brain is developing so rapidly, maybe you can make a bigger impact.
Exactly. Imagine you're building a house, right? It's way easier to change the foundation while it's still being built than after the whole thing is done.
It makes you wonder.
It does, doesn't it? What if we could actually change the way things unfold? What if we could give those brains the best possible foundation to build on?
And that's where this research leads us, to the question of what if? What if we could intervene early and change the trajectory of brain development? What if this wasn't just about managing Down syndrome, but about reshaping its possibilities?
It's a powerful thought. And while it's still early days, the potential here is undeniable. This research is like a beacon, shining a light on a path we might not have even considered before. And that's the beauty of science. It pushes us to ask bigger questions, to imagine bolder solutions, and to never stop exploring the what-ifs that could change the world.
And for the families out there listening, for the individuals navigating the complexities of Down syndrome, this research offers a glimmer of hope, a reminder that science is constantly evolving, constantly searching for answers, and constantly striving to create a future where every brain, regardless of its differences, has the opportunity to thrive.
And that's a future worth striding for.
Couldn't agree more. So until next time, keep asking those tough questions, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of a little bit of hope. It makes you wonder.
It does, doesn't it? What if we could actually change the way things unfold? What if we could give those brains the best possible foundation to build on?
And that's where this research leads us, to the question of what if. What if we could intervene early and change the trajectory of brain development? What if this wasn't just about managing Down syndrome, but about reshaping its possibilities?
It's a powerful thought. And while it's still early days, the potential here is undeniable. This research is like a beacon, shining a light on a path we might not have even considered before. And that's the beauty of science. It pushes us to ask bigger questions, to imagine bolder solutions, and to never stop exploring the what-ifs that could change the world.
And for the families out there listening, for the individuals navigating the complexities of Down syndrome, this research offers a glimmer of hope, A reminder that science is constantly evolving, constantly searching for answers, and constantly striving to create a future where every brain, regardless of its differences, has the opportunity to thrive.
And that's a future worth striving for.
Couldn't agree more. So until next time, keep asking those tough questions, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of a little bit of hope.